Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Aaron Dior. This is my second episode of Y'all Crazy. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson, these mass shootings that happened last weekend, what's going on in Honduras, and Max Kellerman sneak dissing again Kobe Bryant. Also, we have a guest from the Ask Faith show, Faith. She has a lot of things to talk about, and we're going to chop it up for about an hour, talk about some good things and some bad things, and also how we can reshape United States of America. Stay tuned, y'all. Again, Max Kellerman is sneak dissing Kobe Bryant. I can't stand it. I don't know why he continues to do this, but I'm getting very annoyed by it. Kobe Bryant was on the list for all NBA teams from 2010 to 2014, and Max Kellerman thinks he does not deserve to be on that list. I believe that is BS. It's crap. Like, he deserved to be there. We're talking about a guy who averaged 25 points a game, who's probably one of the greatest shooting guards that ever lived. I just think that it's easy to disrespect Kobe Bryant because he was never the face of the NBA at any time in his career, if you ask me. He came in '96 when Michael Jordan was still running the league. And then after Michael Jordan left, the torch was passed on to Shaq and Allen Iverson. And then once Shaq got traded off to Miami, Allen Iverson is in the twilight of his career. And then along came LeBron James. So during this time, we had D. Wade, Carmelo Anthony, these new shiny toys. Kobe Bryant never really was the face of the NBA. No one really bought his shoes. He had a lot of controversy going on as not being a team player. Also, he had off-the-court issues as well. So he was never put in the forefront of the NBA. But his stats shows that he was probably one of the greatest shooting guards that ever lived. He's the fourth all-time scorer in the NBA scoring list. He has 5 championships. He went to the NBA Finals 7 times in his career. He played 20 years. He scored 81 points. It's him and Wilt Chamberlain are the only two that scored over 80 points. I think he deserves all the smoke as probably the best shooting guard ever, in my opinion. Probably better than Jordan. I know it's tough for a lot of people to say that, but the numbers are pretty close to each other. And it's hard to argue who's better, who's not. But you're right. It's a really tough call to me, but I just think that I would give the edge to Kobe Bryant because he's a student of the game. He learned from Jordan, and he plays just as great as him. And on top of that, he will put the man hours to beat him. So I believe that's why his hunger for more will outdo Jordan. Not saying Jordan that doesn't have that same hunger, the desire, but one thing different from Jordan and Kobe that I feel that Kobe would edge him out is because Jordan has this cocky behavior. Like, he knows he's the best. Then he acts like he's the best, and then certain moments he may slack a little because he thinks you can't beat him in the first place. I think he's overconfident sometimes, and Kobe doesn't really show that kind of behavior. He's just there to win. So that's why I think Kobe is definitely better. But that's just my opinion. I'll let you guys talk in the comments. I just think that Jordan will lose out to Kobe, in my opinion. That's all. But Max Kellerman needs to stop with his opinion regarding Kobe, because he treats Kobe like Kobe wasn't that guy. Like, he wasn't that dude scoring over 25 points a game. It's ridiculous. And I wish that he would stop talking about Kobe so disrespectful. I'm not sure a lot of people have heard the news, but lately Honduras been rioting and protesting right now regarding their president Juan Hernandez. He's been found to be funded by drug cartels. His brother was just arrested for bringing drugs into the United States, and the people of Honduras are protesting and want him to resign from office. And this situation is what Donald Trump and the border crisis is all about. People are running away from the cartels to seek asylum in the United States of America, and they're not doing it the legal way that we have set up. And this is the reason why we have too much corruption in South America, Central America. And the reason being is because, the cartels are running, the whole country, and they're funding presidents and politicians in their businesses. And this is how some of these countries are being ran. It sucks because, we have the left not, expressing the real root of the problem of this mass illegal immigration that's going on. And I mean, we need to do something about it. We need to put more pressure on those governments there for a reason, because this is so the influx of people coming here wouldn't be necessary. Every country can do the same thing America does. They can make their country as great as ours. They can create tech industry. They can create all those things. But when you have gangs, mobs, cartels running your country, you're going to have problems like this. It's unfortunate. I hope he resigns so this could be a fresh start for the Honduras people, and they can do better, and maybe they can stop the influx of illegal immigration, because they can, finally put people in office who's really for the people and not for the cartels. And I hope soon enough that we can get this problem resolved. So I'm here with Faith, a longtime friend, and she also has her own podcast on YouTube called Ask Faith. And I would like for her to introduce herself.
Hey guys, it's Faith from the Ask Faith Show. You can check me out on YouTube at the Ask Faith Show. Thanks so much for having me, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad we have set this up.
Of course, I had to stop by on your show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Y'all crazy is booming right now. And there's a few people that's crazy.
A few, I think it's just too much of it. But yeah, so I've known you for about 12 years now. You've been a cool friend, doing a lot of entertainment and media and things like that. So I thought it would be perfect to do this podcast together. We definitely have a lot of different views, perspectives on society. She would kind of think I'm conservative, the way I talk sometimes. But I think it would be perfect for a podcast together. I wanted to talk to you about more like these mass shootings, these killings, domestic terrorism. How do you feel about that right now?
Well, first and foremost, let's want to give my condolences and my heart and my prayers out to the families and the friends and the loved ones of everyone who lost their lives in these senseless shootings this past weekend and this entire year. Apparently, there's been about 102 victims this entire year, which doubles the amount that were lost due to domestic terrorism last year in 2018. So honestly, I don't feel anything right now. I'm kind of like upset. Not used to it. I'm upset for the people that lost their lives, but it's just like, instead of being so upset, I also feel like something also motivated. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is the time for us to use our voices that we may have silenced ourselves or others may have silenced, and really do something different. Do something different from the last time that we heard this news.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my take on this is, like, I was saying this to myself last night. I know it's a weird thing to say. I've probably never been heard before, but I believe that white people in this country needs to have a private all-white meeting. Like, seriously. I think that you guys need to sit down and figure this out. Like, how...
What do you mean? They've been having those meetings.
I mean, like, not a Ku Klux Klan meeting.
Oh, God.
Like, a meeting is like, how do you want to be viewed through this world? Like,
that's what Congress is for.
I mean, but, you know...
Like, you have plenty of groups getting together and deciding how things are.
Well, most of these groups are white groups. Antifa, the liberal ones, the conservative, white nationalists, all these groups. They need to sit down together and figure this out. Why do you hate so much? It's so animalistic for them to succumb to their fears so much. Like, you are in fear of someone that you do not know, don't understand their culture, don't understand anything about them, and your first take is violence. That's weird. That's like primal behavior.
But that's not anything new that we've seen being exhibited. And what
True.
I want to say is, what you're seeing in society is not by happenstance. It's not by chance. It's all by design. So there are groups that have come together already and have decided what they wanted to be, and it has come to fruition. We're just seeing the byproducts of it. We're seeing the effects of it. Mm-hmm. Hate is meant, first of all, in order for third world countries to exist, you need capitalist countries. So countries like America have to exist in order for the society that we live in to sustain itself. So that being said, there's going to be a bottom of the pole. There's going to be a top of the pole. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're going to have people in a disenfranchised, fragmented mindset, mm-hmm. living in that set so that they can remain where they are. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it's just like, yeah, for who we have in office today, mm-hmm. what we're seeing, it shouldn't be a surprise. They're living out exactly what is amplified. What we hear is being amplified. The rhetoric is being amplified.
My thing is just like the brass behavior from our President Donald Trump has electrified their community of whites, and it's like, honestly, lately, like, I just don't want to be near them. Like, not in an evil intent way. I just like fear of unknown. That same fear they perpetuate to the world and promote and go and do. Now I'm in fear of just being around them. Like, if it's not work related, I don't even look their way, because like, I don't know if this one here is going to be the one that's going to do something very malicious for no reason.
See, as a black man, I can see why you have that point of view, because so many black men are slain in the name of fear, and absolutely nothing is done about it. Eric Garner's killers were just let off without any charges being...
the illegal chokehold, yeah.
No charges were able to stick. They was on paid administrative leave, and he's just one too many that have gone without real justice. So as a black man, I could see why you would say something like that. I could see why that would be your feeling. But the truth of the matter is that hate towards people that look like you and myself didn't originate with the person who's in office today.
True.
What I feel amplified it the most was the minute Barack Obama became president.
I agree, in a sense,
and he received the most death threats that a president has. The disrespect that came from people within the country, the type of cartoons that were drawn, the type of articles that were written, the type of threats that was sent to the White House. These were the people that we have been living amongst. These were our neighbors.
They
These
never
were
disappear.
Our coworkers.
We got to continue.
Exactly.
For some reason, we
forget
here. That. Like, I always say this to people. Like, my dad, he's in his early 60s. At one point in time in his life, he couldn't ride a certain seat on the bus. Like, that's only a generation ahead.
My
like,
grandfather couldn't look at, white people in their eye.
Like this is only a generation ago. Like, people don't understand. Like, this is what. Yes, the United States have progressed a whole lot.
I've been
from
told
40 years, 50 years ago.
I've been told to go back to where I came from. My parents moved me to the Poconos. Oh. And I was told in 7th grade, and I remember his name, John R. I won't say his last name because he's a grown man now. But John R. told me, nigga, go back to where you came from. He was probably talking about New York.
Maybe.
Or but he told...
Maybe talking about your roots, Jamaica,
he still was telling
whatever.
me to get out of his town. You know what I'm saying? So when I heard that being chanted just 2 weeks ago at the president's, to honor him, to appease him.
I have context to that. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. I can't pronounce her first name. I always mess up, so I'm gonna just say Miss Omar. Some of the things that I've read about, some of the quotes that she has said has really, rubbed me the wrong way. Like, reason why I'm saying that is because...
Do you have a case in point so the viewers can understand your
let me explain. Like, for a person, she is, for what she has become in her late 30s right now, is a blessing, and you only could do it in America. She's a Somalian immigrant. She was found in a refugee camp, and I believe in Sudan somewhere. And America invited her in, and to her to become
invited her in.
Well, they accept her refugee. Every year every country has a accepting rates of how many refugees come to the country. She happened to be one of them that year in the early 90s, I believe. For her to become a congresswoman. Like, how can you say this country's a bad country when you have progressed so far in life and then say this country's a terrible country?
Let me ask you a question.
Go back to Somalia if you feel that way.
Let me ask you a question.
Like,
as an American, and you just said, how do you feel about this? You just literally sat here and said that you don't like to be around white people.
True.
You just said that.
I don't say like this contest.
Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish, because you sat here and made your point about Senator Omar. You said that how could she say that this country is a terrible country when she came here as a refugee? And you just sat here as a citizen and said you don't want to be around half of the counterparts of the citizens that you're a country of, that you're a part of. You just sat here and said a generation ago your own father couldn't look a white man in his eye or sit somewhere. I said that about my grandfather, and you said your father couldn't sit in a certain seating in the bus, and that was not just his reality. That was reality for all black people at a certain point in time in this place. So what did she say that was wrong? The egregious things that this country has done inside of this border and out and abroad. Within this border and out abroad, whatever, because I don't even know what I just said, because what the viewers don't know is that we have a cup in our hands. But what my point is, for her to call out what we can do better doesn't mean she does, and because she's also a refugee, does not give her any less of a voice than us. And that is where you and Donald Trump and all the people who's telling her that she should go back is wrong, because where she was born doesn't make her voice any more legitimate. Whether she decided to become a U.S. citizen or not doesn't determine whether this country is a terrible country or not. Is this a terrible country overall? Are we living, do you and I wake up and can we make this podcast and feel free to upload it without persecution? Yes. But are we making a podcast about a shitload of things that this country can fix? Yes.
You're right.
Terrible is subjective, and it's all perception. If you feel like her saying terrible or me saying what I'm saying makes this country so foul, that is not the equivalent of what this country has actually done and what we can actually do better. Like this, that's the First Amendment in this country is what? Yeah. Freedom of speech. Exactly. So her saying that doesn't make this country any more legitimate or any less legitimate. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So y'all don't have a leg to stand on to tell her where she could and should or should not go. You know what I mean? Because here you, what like, I mean, I don't want to continue.
I get what you're saying, and you have a valid point, 100%. What I'm saying is also is that, I rather, maybe her choice of words is just, to me, that rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, yes, this country is not the best. Sorry about that, y'all. Things happen. It's real in the field. This country, yes, has half progressed. We're not the greatest country. We're not the worst country. And I just feel like her words should have been more different. Like,
I'm going to read her words. She said, "What I'm fearful of, because Rashida and I are Muslim, that a lot of our Jewish colleagues, a lot of our constituents, a lot of our allies go to thinking that every time we say about Israel to be anti-Semitic because we are Muslim. And so to me, it's something that becomes designed to end the debate because you get in the space of, yes, I know what intolerance looks like, and I'm sensitive when someone says the words you use, Ilhan, are resemblance of intolerance. And I'm cautious of that, and I feel pain by that. But it's almost as if every single time we say something, regardless of what we say, that is supposed to be about foreign policy or engagement or advocacy about ending oppression and the freeing of every human life and wanting dignity, we get to be labeled something, and that ends the discussion. Because we end up defending that, and nobody ever gets to have the broader debate of what is happening with Palestine. So for me, I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay for people to push for the allegiance to a foreign country. And I want to ask, why is it okay for me to talk about the influence of the NRA, of fossil fuels industries, or big pharma, and not talk about a powerful lobby? Now, I don't know if that's the quote that y'all were talking about.
That's not the quote.
But that must be the quote I've heard Donald Trump say on many times, referencing what she said was very disrespectful to Israel. Very disrespectful to Israel. I'm just going to say, on a dumbed down note, if you don't listen to politics, if you don't listen to the radio, if you don't do anything, I have had people ask me, why is America so close with Israel? Why is that one of our, their closest allies? Because you see, whenever in presidential candidacies,
money,
in presidential candidacies, you always see an APAC meeting. You always see the presidents, candidates.
Kamala Harris just went to one. The reason being,
I didn't even know that. But you always see,
she's been handpicked by that crew. They are pushing and funding her. This is what
So on a general basis, I think people want to know.
All right, so let me say something about, I would say, the Jewish community. I think they were probably the most tight knit when it comes to funding campaigns. Better than blacks, better than Indians, better than Chinese, better than whites. They know how to put their money together and fund presidential campaigns. Or all campaigns, because now I know they got laws in Texas, like you have to pledge to Israel or something like that. I know I'm speaking out of context. I'm not sure what's the case, but I know a teacher got fired in Texas for not having allegiance to Israel, which is kind of insane. Like, this is a foreign country, one. Two, I don't know what is the line of anti-Semitic, because you can just say Israel is Palestine and you get cursed out by everybody in the world because.
But that is what this lady is saying, and it's just like when it's almost like the N-word. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you cross into that territory, white people got to step all the way back. You know what I mean?
Everybody, anybody who's part of this religious group, because it's not a race, it's a religious group.
I'm just giving an analogy.
Yeah.
When it comes to that word, everyone's a step all the way back. When it comes to being the line that you just mentioned, crossing that line, some people don't even want to talk about it. I don't even know if we should upload this part.
See, this is what I'm saying. We in a place where we, freedom of speech is supposed to be the number one constitutional right that we have in this country. Look at us saying we're in fear of speaking about Israel, and that's very interesting. I don't understand why that's a problem in the first place. All I know is it's just
Listen,
a lot
I'm
of...
just as a disenfranchised minority as the Jews.
Yeah.
I am
I know plenty
the
of
real
them.
Jew.
I've been around
According to you two, we are the Jews.
Like, honestly,
So we are all in the same struggle boat. We're not trying to take that from anyone. It's just like, I think what this lady is saying is what a lot of people don't want to say. It's that taboo area that a lot of people just back away from.
and it's more it's red flag even more because America is like, you know, besties with Israel, and on top of that, Donald Trump's son-in-law is Jared Kushner, a big prominent Jewish
Let's get
man.
back to the families.
Yeah, he runs a lot of real estate in New York, New Jersey.
Mr.
Actually, it just came out of one of his property earlier. So it's, you know, it's what it is. Like, these people are billionaires, wealthy families, and they are running the country, and that's the way it is. But, you know,
speaking of running the country, and the mass shootings that we have and everything like that, it's just, I always wonder, where is Melania's Trump's voice in all of this? It's, as her family just recently becoming naturalized citizens, and she herself being an immigrant. I just want to know, because first ladies always have a campaign, and her.
I'm not sure what's her campaign. This is the first. I mean, like,
this should be her campaign. This should be her campaign on the other side.
All right, so my take. Let's talk about Rihanna. Rihanna's statement about getting an assault rifle faster than you can get a visa. It takes 3 to 5 weeks to get a visa to come to the United States of America. That's a hell of a long time.
I don't see nothing wrong with that.
You think that's...
You know why I don't see nothing wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it also takes that amount of time to get a custom-made wig. You understand? Anything that requires tedious customization and paperwork, it sometimes it takes longer than that when you get a real good job.
True.
You understand what I'm saying? So I don't see nothing wrong with 5 weeks being the time frame that you get a visa to come into another country.
Okay.
On long term. Because people we're in a day and age where you can doctor up a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, it makes sense.
On that note, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Okay. I'm glad you feel that way. I was thinking that maybe it could be sooner. We live in a day and age of social media where information is passed along very quickly now. But you make a good point.
How does social media play into the immigration process?
I think it would help a lot. I think our immigration laws has to change.
I don't want my social media to take into account for anything important. Okay, please do not look for me on social media unless I give you the handle.
Listen, you are living your life, and it's okay.
I'm living my best life. Oh, sorry.
You can sing.
You know what, guys? I don't know what type of podcast this is, but on today we're turning up because Aaron and I, we go way back. It's very hard for me to maintain my seriousness. It's hard for him to maintain. He keep giggling over there too. So, you know, I'm forgetting that we're on the podcast because the conversation is so natural. But the things that we want to talk about are very important. The mass shootings that happened where 17 people lost their lives this very past weekend. But
No, it was more than that. It was like almost 30. Actually, it was 30. I think it was 20 in Texas.
You're right. Excuse me.
And about 9.
There was 29, about 26 in Dayton, and about...
No. El Paso had the most. It was...
Man, there was so many. There was like 22 people in El Paso. There was like 26 people in Dayton. There was another one at Gilroy Garlic Festival in San Francisco where this guy decided to just go shoot up the place.
Wow.
And, yeah.
This is why I said, like, why I'm saying, like, an all-white meeting needs to happen. You guys need to check your people.
Let me tell you, it's more than just white people. Here's what it is. Here's what I noticed about all 3 shootings. Because there was another one that happened July 28th. But what I noticed about the ones that just happened, the ones that we just mentioned, they were all between the ages of 19 and 24.
that's the age of still of an influence, and
So
they're
that's
blaming.
parents took to your children. That's not.
So what's the environment at home? So like I said before, like I said earlier in the podcast, I said that like my dad is a generation of segregation. He was born into that. Those are like the parents of these kids. Like white people have kids older than black people or Mexicans. I mean Spanish people as well. So whatever the case may be. So their parents could be from that old era of the 60s. When we finally got the apartheid ended pretty much in our country. Like we got to remember that is the age group of these people. Like he's getting that rhetoric at home. He's like, Ronald Reagan calling Africans monkeys in the recording.
You don't have to be that old to think
that
way.
You can still get the same.
You're right. These young folks who are just as racist, and I feel like what's making it so pervasive is when you have people in power saying these things. Like what was found on the gentleman, the monster from California. He had white supremacy stuff on his IG. There was the guy, the monster that went into Walmart that wanted to kill a whole bunch of Mexicans in El Paso. So racism wasn't found in the other two motives, in the Dayton and the Gilroy shooting, but racism was a rhetoric in two of them. And when you have people in power, I don't care whether it's not just racism that's coming out of the White House. You have just straight up IDGAF behavior. It's like, I don't care. I'm gonna say what I want. I'm gonna do what I want.
I was thinking about this idea. We living in a society nowadays where like social media has this part of influence where you want to be part of a clique, of a crew. Like you want to be it with something. I don't want to sound like an apologist a little bit, but I kind of want to say like, do white young men who's not cool in school feel left out? Like they don't have a cool, something a belonging to. And maybe these racist groups, these nationalist groups who's anti-others are so welcoming, they believe in that rhetoric. Like, people our age, who went to college and things like that, they joined Greek associations and things like that. Like, we have hip-hop culture that we could all invite ourselves into. We could be somebody we don't even know, but we vibe to the same music. We have the same culture. What is white culture in America? I don't know it.
White culture is the Gilroy Garlic Festival that they just went to shut up.
I don't want to think that because
listen,
that's insane. Because that means like every white kid in America believes in racism. Every white kid.
No, what I said is the Gilroy Garlic Festival. What that is a cooking festival. They were going to have up and coming country stars. You have families that were attending that. Mm-hmm. That is white culture. Festivals. Cars, getting together.
Things. Yeah, they have that in my town all the time.
Country fairs.
Yeah.
The mass shooting that happened, I think, just a few years ago at Nevada, when the guy went in the hotel.
That was a country
music festival. He shot up another
festival.
Country music festival. So they have culture. Let's not take that away. They have their good old boy American culture that they take part in, and that's their thing.
Okay.
Guns is a part of their culture. Just shooting rifles, and so that is something that they have. They have their and you know what? We are Black people are just as American as white people. So what we do in America is American pop culture. So they can very well be into hip hop as well. That's their culture, because we Black Americans too. We're Black, but we are Americans. Like, some people here don't know nothing else. They don't know Africa. They know here. They know America. They know the state that they were born in.
Exactly. In their neighborhood, their community. You're right. I was just wondering that question because, like, I'm trying to understand the mindset of a young white male from ages 14 to 25. What's going on in their minds? It's all
different. It's all where you are. And
why do you think that? Also, why do you succumb to fear? Like, I mean, I don't like every culture has something that they fear of. We can go somewhere in Africa. We can go to Rwanda when they had that whole entire massacre. But for some reason, I'm in America, so I want to talk about why does white Americans succumb to fear so much? It's more prominent about that.
What do you mean by succumb to fear?
All right, so they fear of others. Like in the 60s and the 70s, they used to firebomb churches all over in the black communities in America.
I don't feel like that's fear. I think that's hatred. I feel like...
But where does the hatred come? I don't go around hating you. So what is breeding this anger of...
Are we going to act like we don't know? Did we not see Get Out? Just think about the movie Get Out.
I mean, I get the movie Get Out, but you should... you're saying white people want to be like black people? Like, what is it? Like...
Okay.
I don't...
I feel like that it's multifaceted. I feel like...
Infatuation? You really think that's the case?
I feel like the things that... We are an incredible... We are the original... like, we're not a race. Let's just get that clear. As humans...
We are the race.
Okay? You feel me? Like, we're not a kind. Like,
yeah.
We're original. And just to be very frank with you, everyone wants to be first. Everyone wants to be like the original. No one wants to be a knockoff. Mm-hmm. So the way that you can go out and we go to the beach, you don't put on no sunscreen, you're good. You know, you can. There's a lot of abilities innate within you. That there's a lot of research being done, and people know what we're capable of. That
physically.
And what you're always afraid of what you don't know and what you don't understand.
But you're more welcome to understand. You're like, black people are the most inviting people ever. Since the minute the Portuguese people made to Congo in 1491, we've been welcoming them.
You have to want to know something in order to know something that you don't know.
So you rather hate first.
Some people, it's easier to not like, honestly. Some people, there's a lot of studies that are done where you have a natural affinity to what looks like you. You naturally, there's a law of attraction. Like, it's natural for you to get along with people who look like you.
And I have no problem with that.
So it's easier for people to click up.
Yeah.
You always see mad bitches click up. You know what I'm saying? Like a enemy of yours, two enemies who don't like each other. You know, who don't like the same person, they're easier to get along because they're going to bond over the fact that they don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's sometimes negativity is way more easier to entertain than being a bigger person and elevating yourself. You see that? Elevating, it takes work to elevate. Some people don't put in that work.
Okay. All right, so maybe my thoughts is just like trying to find the easy route of why these people hate. Why do they hate? Like, why is it so easy to hate someone like... You know, like Toni Morrison, rest in peace to her.
Yes,
she said
queen.
She said a good quote. It was like, "What do you have when you don't have racism? What are you? Who are you after racism? Like, 'cause that's all you have.
Empty shell.
You're an empty shell. If you feel like you are superior to others for no apparent reason, I just don't understand that philosophy."
But I feel like what we came here today is not just based on racism. I feel like the deeper root of it all is the ability to hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, racism, you can only be racist if you have the ability to hate, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those mass shootings, like, it wasn't just racism, but they have the ability to hate first, and then they're able to become racist. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, we have to tackle that demon. And
that's why I said all white meetings have one.
I'm look at this list of all the mass shootings. It's not just white people on this list. There's black men on this list too. I didn't see no women yet, but I seen not just white people, but it's just like you have to fight that inner demon within yourself. That negative, because we all have good and bad within us. Yin and yang, you know what I'm saying? We have those energies. You have to balance that energy and push that negative out of you. You know what I'm saying?
I just, you know, I'm not a white person, so I don't know how they feel. I would like to have a conversation with a white man about this. But every time I try to attempt to have this kind of conversation, like, They know how to ease their way out of it real quick. But my thing is just like I
I've
just
had
don't.
conversations with white people about racism and ignorance, and what it all stems from is just not knowing,
Lack of knowledge.
Is not or not being exposed to it. Like
Yeah, because I
you
remember
moved
old
around a
study.
lot.
Yeah, I remember old studies saying like 88% of white people do not have a black friend or know anyone that's like of color at all, which is insane. Like when you think about it. I mean, that means
When
that's
you
majority
travel
of the
America,
suburbs.
you see it's just a whole bunch of little towns. There's a few metropolitan areas throughout the the U.S.
States.
But it's made up of a lot of small towns.
Yeah, 90% of these towns are usually all white. The only time they ever see somebody of color is probably at the local mall.
On TV.
On TV.
Acting a fool.
So you probably think
encouraging the racism.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, that was the plan since the 70s. The Nixon era. He wanted to make black people look like weed smokers, drug dealers, and petty criminals on TV and vilify those, and white people like hippies and nothing like that, making them look like drug addicts. That was his plan in the 70s. Like it didn't work because now that's a generation of people thinking that black people are criminals and all this other stuff.
But not only do they think that, but life has a way of imitating art. And then art also imitating life. So it's like you seen it, so you seen it, so you can repeat it, and then you do it, and then someone replicates it, and then it's a cycle. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna watch videos and movies of slavery, and then you're gonna see
I don't watch those
modern day slavery happening right beneath our eyes, and no one really. You always ask yourself, what do those people do? What do the free white people do when they were slaves? And it's just like, what are we doing while there's slaves here in America?
And the thing about that also, too, like a lot of people, we have the reparation talks going on right now, but like I think we'll amplify it more if I know a lot of black people don't want to hear it, but like there were just as many white slaves there were black slaves in America. If we add them,
not over time.
I mean, when you're
speaking in a certain time frame when there were
but the end of slavery, it was about the same amount. It was like about 4 million on each side.
And then also this depends on how you're defining slavery, because indentured servitude and slavery are two different things, and there were not just as many. Don't let me pull up my Dane Calloway. Shout out to Dane Calloway and all of my black scholars and
I listen.
Rest in peace to all of them too. I don't want to even name drop. But there's a lot of people who have done a lot of work and have laid the foundation and have done too much research for us to sit here and say something like that.
Okay, but like I said before, I think that conversation, it was added a bit. I think it will amplify the conversation of reparations. What is your take on reparations?
My take on reparations is it sounds amazing. It is what we deserve, but how it should be done is yet to be determined. And so
this is my take on
it. It's
really
all theoretical, because it's like, you're going to give it to us how? You're going to give us the 40 acres and a mule, or you're going to give us money? And how are you going to give us money? How are you going to decide who to give the money to? And then when they was giving out land before and giving out reparations to the Indians, you had a whole bunch of white folk acting like they were Indians. Even still to this day, white people frauding as Indians. And so there's the line. It's just going to be very crazy, because you have people like you saying there's just as many white people. And when you guys say things like that and you guys skew the numbers, that is what is intended to mess up the reparations. Because how are you going to give reparations to black people when you have black people saying there was just as many white people enslaved as black people? So now slavery is not a black thing. Now it's a white and black thing. So now you guys are going to recreate history, rewrite history.
But it was in a sense.
Oh my Lord!
I don't think it was as
let's
bad.
pause on this because we're not prepared to talk about this. We did not come here to talk about this today.
All right, you're right.
So we're not doing this, and we're gonna make ourselves look crazy on that.
All right. So another thing, what I wanted to say. Also, what do you think about the gun laws in America right now?
Gun laws, I thought you would never rest. Let me tell you something about the gun laws in America. A lot of people do a lot of research on this, and I think all the journalists and research groups that do this kind of work so that we can have this information and we can speak about it. One thing that I've learned in regards to the gun laws recently is that, well, one thing we know but has been clarified is that it's not one fits all. There's not one gun law that applies to all 50 states in the United States. And so there's a lot of research that has been done by the British Medical Journal.
A foreign journalist?
No. Columbia University as well, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
Okay.
So you have 3 agencies that are involved on this.
Mm-hmm.
And the only state that did not participate in this is Florida, because they don't report to the FBI.
Interesting. I never knew that. I learned something new today.
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to say it in short because I don't know the attention span of your viewers.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk as long as you like.
What I will say is what they found is that over time, that the states have dug themselves into a bimodal format of gun laws. So there are over 13 factors that they look at that judge how strict or lenient a state is when it comes to gun laws. Mm-hmm. And that includes how easy it is to get the gun, how permissible your license is out of the state, your background. There's all different types of things that go into gun laws, period. So what they found is that the more lenient a state has become over the years has 11.5% increase in how much mass shootings have happened in that state. And so it was just crazy to me to see that. And I also was trying to see if there was a correlation between red and blue states and the states that have gun shootings, mass shootings, but they kind of spread out, but mostly red states. Mostly red states have
You're right.
mass shootings. So that was just my little 2 cents. It's just people like to say that we want to come to different conclusions and that there's a certain rhetoric that's being put out there, but you can't fight numbers. You can't fight the facts. Where the mass shootings are is where there are very lenient gun laws or more lenient gun laws, and it's just it's a public health issue at this time.
You think these kids suffer from mental illnesses, or you just think?
Absolutely not. The only mental illness that they're suffering is from growing up in a crazy house. You know what I'm saying? Wherever you're living that allowed you to make those decisions, that you have, you either inherited your crazy, or they allowed you and maintained your crazy.
You know what we should do? Every mass shooting, we need to go deep in their family background. Like, who are these people?
Absolutely.
Like, not. I don't, huh?
Clout chasers.
No, not publicize it, but we need to know, like, who they are. Like,
oh, they do that research.
Like, it needs to be more popularized. Like, who is this person?
You just said not
like popularized, like, like fame these people. Like, what's their heritage? Like, all these people are known for being
Anglo-Saxon.
I mean, like, that's really far back. We're talking about, like, did these people participate in, like, slave trading in the 1800s? Did these people participating in segregation, racketeering and things like that in the 1900s?
You want to know details.
Like, I want to know, like, because we got to stop saying it's a mental health issue until we fully understand who these people are. I don't think we know who these people and who they are. We just know who this person is today, and that's it. No, we want to know, is their family or someone on some fuck shit from the 60s? Yes, we need to know what kind of fuck shit they were on. So, like, that's my only take about it. Not to make sure these people are, famous anymore. I just wanted to know, does this family have a history of poor behavior among other races around them? You know what I mean?
I can see where you're going with that, and there are people that have put together extensive documentaries on the backgrounds of, serial killers and mass murders, and I feel as if you can find that information if you want to, but what you can't dispute is trends and things that are happening more pervasive than others. And if there's a correlation to something that's happening in present day with the trend that's being observed, then you can make a statement about it. I don't think you have to really reach that far back to kind of figure out what's going on here. But I think everything is valid. Everything is worth looking at. And definitely no stone should be unturned when it comes to a monster who feels freely about taking several lives.
Absolutely.
Anyway, one life is one too many.
Absolutely. Any other things you want to talk about?
This was pretty loaded.
Yeah, all right, no problem. So we're going to close this out. I think that, I just want to say to the families who lost people this week, I hope your death is not in vain. I hope we could come up with some new laws, solutions, and something of the culture where we can, have some type of dialogue. I think things happen for a reason. Like, this is God's plan. We need to come together and heal and respect others. I think we should have more education in school of other cultures. It used to bother me when I was younger that how we do not know much about the past in our schools. We always talk about certain things. French-Indian War, that's it. We don't know about the tribes that we now occupied, areas that we live in now. We don't ever talk about that. We don't ever talk about past languages, past cultures, or even black cultures in America and where they come from. Like, I think we have to have a real education on culture. And I hope one day we have that conversation, because once we understand that we're all the same, we all love our families, we're really no different. We just have a different culture. That's it. But we're the same.
Make us different.
I mean, in a sense, culture, but we're still the same. We're not. It's not. You cannot be invited to our culture. It's not like you can't partake in our culture. That's making it different. That's not making it different. I mean, like, that's what separates us really, because just the culture. But like, there's the open. We have an open door policy. We invite people all the time to the cookout. You know what I mean?
No, we actually closed the cookout. There's no cookout.
No more cookouts anymore?
No.
All right, you heard Faye. She said no more cookouts.
That's the problem. I was just actually watching, right before you came over today, I was watching an episode of Grownish, and I want to give a big shout out to the people behind the scenes there at Grownish and the whole cast. I think you guys are doing a beautiful thing over there, and even at my age, I can relate to it. College wasn't that long ago for me, and the storylines are very relatable. So I can very much, basically, shout out to you guys. I'm not even gonna go on a tangent about Grownish, but I was just watching an episode, and Diggy Simmons, he was playing the role of a college student who felt like the culture was being appropriated by one of their friends, Vivek, who's like, I don't know, he looked brown to me, but basically he wasn't black, and everything was, the moral of the story was staying in your lane. You can have an appreciation for other cultures and acknowledging that every culture is different, and the differences among us is what makes us beautiful, rather than coloring us all in the same, saying, oh, we're all the same, because we're not all the same. We all have our differences, and it's okay for you to appreciate your difference, and for me to appreciate my difference, and us to appreciate each other's differences. That's what really is going to make things better, not to just put on blinders and be like, to just synonymize us all. Because I feel like the fact that you came from where you come from and I came from where I came from is what makes us who we are. And
But we're not enemies.
exactly.
Like, and I think that's makes sense. Like, I think that the people in this country who's non-black or Hispanic, we need to understand that we're not your enemies. Yes, we are different. Yes, we have a different culture, different perspective on the world. We view things a lot different, but we're not your enemies. Like I said in my first podcast, it's the gray area, Not all of us are left, right, up, down, etc., And I think we should definitely understand that that's not the case for everything.
Right.
I want to end this podcast today speaking about Tucker Carlson statements this week. I really think how crazy for him to believe that there is no white supremacy in this country when this country was built on that, built on cutting people out. I think he forgot that segregation, the crack era, all these on the war on drugs, like all this stuff. This is the things that white supremacists have created. This is the system that was by design to keep certain people in, to keep certain people out. For him to say that, I just feel like he's just ignorant. Yes, his statement about people not having jobs, people are not filling in, people losing out on a lot of things. Those are a lot of big issues, important issues. But to say that it's a myth is absolutely hilarious. And we're not talking about memberships of people who joining these type of groups or things like that. We're talking about the mindset of people who believe that they are superior than others, that they believe that they deserve this country, this world, like they belong to them and everyone else is below them. That is the culture in America. That's by design, and that was created by white people. This system was created by them. And now it's all crumbling. Now the world's looking at white people like, okay, what in the hell is going on? Like, you look crazy. This is like a mental disorder to hate people that do not look like you. To go around killing people in mass shootings that don't look like you. You guys, white supremacists, have been doing this for centuries now. Lynching, firebombing, killing massive ethnic groups all over the world. Like, this has been going on for far too long, and everyone is just fed up. Like, this has to end. And the system is crumbling. Everywhere you go, a white supremacist concept is crumbling because it makes no sense at all. And I hope America changes. I hope more and more of these systems crumble and more improvements happen. And it's going to, because it makes no sense at all to hate someone that does not look like you at all. And this is the episode just to let y'all know that y'all crazy. Everyone. All of us. And we all need to do better because we need to be more sane. Have a good night, y'all. Or day, if you're listening in the daytime or in the afternoon, whatever the case may be. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Aaron Dior NY, or you can follow us on Twitter, Aaron Dior. Also, you can follow DBX, and this is all going to be on DBX and YouTube. So follow us there, DBXN Media on Twitter, DBXN Network on Instagram. Thank you for listening. Love y'all.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.